Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's show is a two-story episode. The first story is entitled Camping Terror. Let's get straight into that. When I was 11 years old, my family and I went camping in New York. It was my parents and younger brother. We'll call him Caleb. So, the campsite we were at felt pretty desolate. We go camping there every year, and usually it's packed, but this time it was practically empty. The second night we were there, we were sitting at the fire, and Caleb said that he had to go to the bathroom. My mum told me to go with him, and we both got up and left. After so many years, I had memorised the way to the bathroom. You have to go through the woods for a bit before coming to a path that leads straight there. Even though I had brought a flashlight, it would only illuminate about 3 feet ahead. So, Caleb and I arrive at the bathroom, and Caleb enters the boys' room. I walk into the girls' room and look around. It was the general camp bathroom, just barely cleaner than a porta potty. There are 3 stalls and a single window above the sink. The only light is coming through the window from the lamp that was outside. I go into one of the stalls and do my business. While I'm in there, it suddenly goes dark. I turn on the flashlight and point it at the window. To my surprise, there's something covering the window. You must understand, that window is pretty high up. So much so that I could see it from the stool where I was sitting. I was a little confused at what could be covering it. After about a minute, whatever it was that was blocking it moved, and the light returned. I finish up, wash my hands, and exit the bathroom. Caleb is already waiting outside. I ask him if he saw anything by the window, and he shakes his head. I shrug, and we both start heading back to camp. We're not even off the path when the flashlight starts to flicker. I curse under my breath and start shaking it. Then, I hear a rustling sound nearby. Caleb grabs my hand and begins to whimper. I start telling him that everything is fine, while shining the dying flashlight in the direction of the sound. Finally, I see something about 20 yards away. It's hard to make out what it was, but then it started to shamble closer. Eventually, I could see it, and I nearly dropped the flashlight in horror. This thing looked like a human-dog fusion from Full Metal Alchemist. It was on all fours, and even then was almost 6 feet tall. Its eyes were glowing also, and I could tell that it was staring right at us. At that moment, several things happened at once. The flashlight completely went out. Caleb screamed, and the creature made a noise that I don't even know how to describe. Think of it like a dog moaning, but much, much louder, and sounding much more human. I grab Caleb and begin running back to camp as fast as I could. When I get to the end of the path, I look behind me and scream. The creature was now chasing us, running on 2 legs. I start running blindly through the woods, desperately looking for the light of our fire, but I couldn't see anything. Caleb was crying, and I could still hear that thing crashing through the woods, still making that ear-piercing sound. I screamed for my parents, for anyone, but nobody came. Then, as suddenly as it came, the creature was just gone. I suddenly stopped hearing it, and when I finally collapsed to the ground in exhaustion, it wasn't behind us anymore. By this point, I was hyperventilating, and Caleb was still crying. As I begin to catch my breath, I look around. I can barely see anything in the darkness, and the flashlight, well, that was long gone. Then I hear another sound. It was the best sound in the world. Rachel! Caleb! It was my parents. I stand up with Caleb and begin to walk towards them. When we meet, I finally let it out. I begin sobbing and trying to explain what happened. I think they thought I was crazy. Either way, my parents bring Caleb and I back to camp and we sleep in the tent. Needless to say, I didn't actually get any sleep that night. The next day, it was clear to my parents that Caleb and I would not be able to cope the rest of the week, so we left early. Since that trip, I've done research about Dogman sightings. I'm not completely sure what we saw that night, but it's been 5 years since then. Caleb is still so afraid of the dark that he has panic attacks, and I'm embarrassed to admit that I have fear of dogs, an irrational fear at that. No matter what it was, this creature was very real. The Wendigo. Let's get straight into that. I'm writing this from a small motel just outside Green Bay. Something has been stalking, or more accurately, hunting me. I don't know what to do, and that's why I'm asking you to help. You all know the legend of the Wendigo, right? Maybe you know it by Wendigo. Algonquian legends describe this entity as a man-devouring beast native to the Atlantic coast and Great Lakes region, as well as parts of Canada. I think this is what is stalking me. It started happening when I moved into my summer cabin past Green Bay. Little things happened at first. My dogs would bark into the woods, but I would see nothing. I didn't think much of it. Just that it could be a deer or a mountain lion at worst. That didn't worry me because I'm a native Yooper. UP of Michigan native. And have had previous hunting experience. Mostly, this would happen and my dogs would growl into the woods but then seemingly forget about to go romp about in the cabin. Then came the night. As I lay in bed one night, I heard shuffling outside my window. My curtains were closed, but the window itself was open. My breathing hitched as I saw a shadow standing right outside my window. Just know that a cabin doesn't have a high ceiling, so the windows are quite low, so I'm not sure the exact size of this creature. I lay frozen in bed as the shadow stayed there for what seemed like centuries, but could only have been a few minutes. Soon, the creature, the shadow, began to shuffle away, but not without emitting a guttural growl. This happened every night for the next 3 days. It would appear, stay, and then leave. After the third night of this, I woke up and went to go check on my 2 hounds, Eleanor and Chip. I walked around to the back of the cabin where they slept, curled up in their makeshift dog houses. I froze and felt my stomach rise up to my throat. When I reached their spot, there was blood that was splattered everywhere and body parts lay strewn all over the yard. Eleanor's figure lay disfigured and torn apart next to Chip's quivering body. He, thankfully, was unharmed, but shocked and in quite a mental state. What monster would do this? I thought despairingly. No bear or mountain lion would dismember a dog like this. I knew what had done this. The creature that stood outside my window every night. The strangest thing? However, wasn't the splattered blood and gore, but the pearly white flap of skin next to my dog's corpse. Good old girl didn't go down without a fight. I picked it up and turned it around in my hands. One side was almost translucent, pearly skin, and on the other side a light bluish blood, I think. I dropped it immediately and ran back inside. I grabbed my old hunting rifle and my pack, which contained some food, water and other camping necessities. The nearest highway was due north, but 38 miles. But I wanted out of these woods before nightfall. That's when it comes, during night. In the daytime, it stays in the woods, always watching, always following. I let Chip loose and we set off due east, where I knew a small town was less than 25 miles away. I could make it, but I would have to haul ass if I didn't want to die. Me and Chip walked for the first half of our journey, and then we ran. We made it to the town right before sunset, if you can ever call it a town. You see, there's a gas station, a motel, a couple of summer cabins by a lake, and as we emerged from the woods, I heard the scariest sound of my life. The roar was deafening and pissed off. I knew that this wasn't the end of the game. This son of a bitch was playing, but for me, tonight was enough. I am now staying at a motel where the only residents are the owner, a runaway teen, and me. As far as I know, we could be the only people in this residence. Yeah, I'm scared. So scared. I can feel it watching me in the dark, waiting, hunting. If I can survive another day, I will check in. But for now, I cannot fall asleep. The deadbolts on my door will not protect me and Chip. Chip has started to growl at the door. I've got to go. Wow. Hope you guys enjoyed those two short but equally terrifying stories. Please do let me know down below in the comments. As ever guys, please do like and share. And remember, be safe, not sorry.